What's up, guys? Have you ever actually thought about who the strongest man alive, Superman, should give his heart to? A regular human journalist who's his only link to humanity? Or the Amazonian princess and goddess of war who can literally shake the world right by his side? Yeah, today we're diving into one of the biggest, most controversial, and honestly, most fascinating debates in comic book history. Lois Lane versus Wonder Woman. Classic earthly love, or the ultimate superhero power couple? Welcome back to another insane video here on Comic Station. We all know Clark Kent, or Superman, with Lois Lane. That's a relationship that's been the blueprint for superhero romance for nearly a century. But DC came in once and completely flipped the script. In the New 52 universe, they sidelined Lois and paired Superman up with Wonder Woman. This combo blew up the comic world and split fans into two fiercely loyal camps. Today, we're going to completely dissect both of these relationships. We're looking at which of these two incredible women is actually the better partner for Kal-El, which relationship makes more sense, and which one can turn Superman into a better hero. I've got some crazy facts and storylines lined up for you that you've probably never heard before. So before we jump into round one, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and right now drop a comment below. Team Lois Lane or Team Wonder Woman? Got it down? All right, with no further ado, let's jump straight into the main part of the video. Alright guys, let's kick off round one with the woman who's been known as Clark Kent's ride or die for nearly 90 years, the legendary Daily Planet journalist Lois Lane. To understand why Lois is so absolutely vital to Superman's life, we first need to wrap our heads around a major fact about Superman's core psychology. Let's be real for a second. Clark Kent, with all that godlike power, X-ray vision, supersonic speed, and the raw strength to literally move planets, is an alien from Krypton. He's got zero genetic or biological connection to us humans. A being with that level of power could easily start seeing himself as above everyone else, get a massive god complex, distance himself from society, and turn into a cold, emotionless creature. But who's the one stopping that disaster from happening? Exactly, it's Lois Lane. Lois is this brave, independent, and honestly stubborn as hell journalist who, even before she knew Clark was actually Superman, risked her life countless times to uncover the truth and fight the corrupt power players of Metropolis. She's literally afraid of nothing. And that exact mindset is what makes her Clark Kent's anchor to humanity. Here's the golden key takeaway of their relationship. Lois isn't in love with Superman's red cape, his godlike powers, or his muscles of steel. She fell for that simple, shy, and sweet farm boy from Smallville, Clark Kent himself. Lois teaches Clark how to live like a human. When Clark is with Lois, he learns how to appreciate the little things in life, like enjoying a bitter cup of coffee in the middle of a chaotic newsroom. He learns how to love, how to accept defeat, and how to truly feel the pain and emotions of regular people. Honestly, it's Lois Lane who takes an invincible alien outsider and shapes him into a kind savior with human morals. Without Lois, Clark Kent has no anchor, no purpose in the human world. He wouldn't even have the motivation to put on that Superman suit and risk his life to save people who are so much weaker and more vulnerable than him. It's because of Lois that he even cares about this fragile human race. The shortest, deepest, and most beautiful way to put it is that famous comic book line, "Superman saves the world, but Lois Lane saves Superman."
But guys, that was just the dreamy, romantic side of the coin. Now it's time to flip the script and see how this pure love can actually become the biggest threat to the entire galaxy. Seriously guys, let's stop daydreaming for a second and face the darkest truth in the DC universe. This exact Lois Lane, who is Superman's anchor to humanity, is at the same time the biggest, most dangerous, and most toxic weakness of the strongest being on Earth. In reality, Lois Lane is like a ticking time bomb, and the trigger is right in the hands of the psychotic villains of Gotham and Metropolis. Look, Superman is basically invincible on Earth. Bullets bounce off him, and entire armies can't stand in his way. So what do Lex Luthor, the Joker, or any other genius villain have to do to bring down this god? It's simple as that. They go straight after Lois Lane. No matter how brave Lois is, at the end of the day, she's just a mortal human who is incredibly vulnerable. She doesn't have bulletproof armor or superpower abilities. And that exact reason causes Superman to always, every single second, have this deep-seated dread inside him, the fear of losing Lois. This is where this classic love turns into a toxic, terrifying relationship for the entire human race. When a being with Big Bang level powers ties his entire soul and sanity to a mortal human, it means the fate of the whole planet is hanging by a thread. Remember the masterpiece that is the Injustice universe? The Joker, with a dirty plan, tricked Superman into killing a pregnant Lois Lane with his own hands and destroying all of Metropolis. And what happened? Within seconds, Superman completely broke down, ripped the Joker's heart out of his chest with his bare hands, and turned into a ruthless, bloodthirsty, psychotic dictator who tore the whole world apart. This story proves to us that Superman's morals and kindness aren't truly hardwired inside him. They are completely conditional on Lois Lane being alive. If Lois sneezes, Superman gets worried. And if Lois dies, Superman destroys the entire galaxy. In reality, this relationship doesn't build Clark Kent into a stable hero. It turns him into a creature who could switch from savior to executioner at any moment, just over a personal loss. Lois's love gives Superman motivation, but this motivation is so fragile and dangerous that it's basically taken all of humanity hostage. Now that you've seen this dark side, let's move on to contender number 2, where DC decided to completely defuse this ticking time bomb and pair Superman up with a woman who needs zero protection, Princess Diana. Alright guys, it's time to leave Lois Lane and Metropolis behind and move on to our second contender, the most controversial, powerful, and high-profile relationship the DC Universe has ever seen, Superman and Wonder Woman. In DC's massive reboot, the New 52 comic run, the writers did something revolutionary and incredibly bold. They cut the classic relationship between Clark and Lois and replaced her with Princess Diana, aka Wonder Woman. Why? Because they wanted to answer one big question. What happens if the strongest man and woman on Earth fall in love? The result was the rise of an epic mythological power couple. The biggest golden upside of a relationship with Wonder Woman is that unlike Lois Lane, she absolutely does not need protection. Diana is the daughter of Zeus, the princess of Themyscira, and the goddess of war. She is one of the strongest, most experienced, and badass warriors in the entire DC galaxy. What does that mean? It means Superman's biggest nightmare, his partner getting taken hostage by Lex Luthor or the Joker, is completely wiped out in this relationship.
If a villain is stupid enough to try and kidnap Wonder Woman just to get leverage on Superman, Diana will snap that villain's legs and throw him into orbit before Superman even finds out. This relationship gives Superman total peace of mind. He can finally fight with a clear head, without constantly worrying about what kind of disaster is happening to his love back home. But guys, it goes even deeper than that. Superman and Wonder Woman share one massive thing in common that a regular human like Lois Lane could never ever truly understand: godlike loneliness. Clark Kent always feels like an outsider among humans. He constantly has to hold back his strength so he doesn't accidentally level an entire city with a wave of his hand. He's always a stranger. But Wonder Woman? Diana is exactly the same, an immortal, insanely powerful being who sees the world from a completely different angle. When these two are together, they don't need to pretend. Superman can finally drop the clumsy Clark Kent act and just be his true self. They fly side by side, tear through alien armies together, and fill each other's deep loneliness. They are two equal comrades in arms, not a hero and a vulnerable damsel in distress. In this relationship, Superman finally finds a real partner who's cut from the same cloth, a goddess for a god. But guys, did you really think DC would just let two gods live happily ever after? Hell no. Now it's time to look at why this golden couple could actually be the most terrifying thing for the survival of the human race. Seriously, guys, let's take off those fantasy-colored glasses for a second and look at the flip side of the coin. The Superman and Wonder Woman pairing might look incredibly sleek, epic, and flawless on the surface, but from the perspective of regular humans on Earth, this relationship is the most terrifying and dangerous thing to ever happen in cosmic history. Why? Let's look at their core philosophies. Lois Lane was the woman who chained Superman to the Earth and taught him how to be kind and forgiving like a human. But what about Wonder Woman? Diana is an Amazonian princess. She was raised on the philosophy of warfare.
In Amazonian culture, peace isn't won by begging or pleading. It's built through military might and taking your enemies' heads. Wonder Woman has shown time and time again in the comics that unlike Superman, she has zero red lines when it comes to killing dangerous villains. If someone threatens the safety of the world, Diana will take their head off in a split second. Now imagine these two invincible, immortal beings moving under one roof and completely bonding. The real danger here is the total erasure of humans from the equation. When Superman has a partner of his own kind, over time, he'll see absolutely no reason to live among humans anymore. He'll stop wearing the Clark Kent suits, stop working in the Daily Planet newsroom, and stop feeling the pain that a regular human suffers from poverty or sickness. These two gods will slowly distance themselves from human society, drift above the clouds, sit on the Justice League watchtower, and look down on the human race like two absolute overlords. In a lot of alternate reality comics, like Kingdom Come or even the Injustice game itself, we've seen that when Superman loses his way and decides to enforce peace on Earth through raw military power, Diana doesn't stop him. Instead, she draws her sword and fights right alongside him to force humans into submission. Diana isn't Superman's moral compass. She's a warrior comrade. If Superman takes a step toward dictatorship, Diana encourages him to be more decisive and control the weak humans.
So the terrifying truth is this: a relationship with Wonder Woman might be great for Superman's own personal safety, but it completely destroys his humanity. This relationship turns Clark Kent from a sacrificial savior into a detached god or an absolute dictator who decides the fate of mankind from above. Now that we've seen both the pros and the dark sides of both relationships, it's time to move on to the final part, the direct showdown and crowning the winner of this ultimate battle. Alright guys, up to this point, we've completely dissected both relationships. We've seen the upsides and the hidden dark side of each one. Now it's time to put these two worldviews directly head-to-head in this round and see what does the choice between Lois Lane and Wonder Woman actually symbolize. See, Superman's choice between these two women isn't just some basic cliché romance choice like in other comic books. This choice actually defines Superman's core identity. When Superman chooses Lois Lane, he's sending a massive message to himself and the entire world. He's saying, I want to be a human. By choosing Lois, Clark Kent prefers to suppress his alien, godlike identity, put on glasses, walk among regular people, worry about his rent, and taste vulnerability and conditional love just like the rest of us. Lois Lane is the anchor that locks Superman to the earth. Yeah, the risk of this relationship is insanely high. Lois could die and drive Superman crazy, but as long as she's alive, she shapes Superman into a humble hero who considers himself one of the people on Earth, not above them. But now, look at the other side of the coin. When Superman pairs up with Wonder Woman, his message to the world completely flips. He's basically saying, I accept that I'm a god. By choosing Diana, Clark stops pretending. He stops trying to hide himself behind the mask of a weak human. He chooses a partner who is immortal, powerful, on his exact level, and looks at the human world from above. In this relationship, Superman has his partner's safety. He has peace of mind. But in return, he completely loses his bond with the human race and those soft earthly emotions, turning into an absolute overlord. So the ultimate dilemma is this: should Superman love a woman who lifts him up so they can rule over Earth like gods together, Wonder Woman, or love a woman who pulls him down and teaches him how to make sacrifices on Earth like a human, Lois Lane? Hardcore comic fans have been warring over this for years. One side argues that the new 52 Superman with Wonder Woman was the most logical and badass version of Superman because he finally broke out of that old cliché phase. But the other side was completely pissed, saying that a Superman who's in love with Wonder Woman isn't the kind, gentle Superman we all know and love anymore. He just becomes way too terrifying and untouchable. Well, guys, we've made it to the final stop, and it's time to pass the ultimate judgment. The truth is, both relationships have their own unique charm and their own dark sides. But if you ask me who wins this battle of the century, without a doubt, I'm raising Lois Lane's hand. And why? Because Superman's real charm isn't his alien superpowers. It's the fact that despite being a god, he chooses to be a human. Wonder Woman might be the ideal match for an invincible being, but Lois Lane is the exact reason why Superman turns into a superhero instead of a space dictator.
Without Lois, Superman might be safer, but his heart wouldn't be that kind, gentle heart that makes the DC universe so beautiful. But hey, that's just my opinion. Now it's your turn. I've completely dissected all the facts, the upsides, and the dark sides of both relationships for you.
Now it's up to you to tell me, are you Team Lois Lane, the anchor to Clark's humanity, or Team Wonder Woman, building the ultimate power couple of gods? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now and tell me why, so we can get a good debate going. Thank you guys so much for riding with me until the very end of this video. If you're loving this style of comic book breakdowns, don't forget to absolutely smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next video. Until another explosive and controversial video, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.